erase the tallest mountains on Earth. Now watch the entire planet change. The Himalayas are not just scenery, they are a machine that shaved half the world. Rip them out of the map, and Asia unravels. Rain patterns collapse, rivers vanish, deserts spread. Billions of lives depend on this single wall of rock. But why does one mountain range hold so much power? The answer sits where two continents crash together. And it explains almost everything about modern Asia. Start with the collision itself. India was once a lonely island. It drifted north across an ancient ocean. Around 50 million years ago, it slammed into Asia. That crash never really stopped. India keeps pushing north today. Each year, the plates grind a few centimeters closer. The crumpled upward under the pressure. And the Himalayas slowly rose from the wreckage. Remove that collision from history. India simply merges into Asia as flat land. No wall, no ridge, no roof of the world. At first glance, this sounds harmless. Less mountain means more usable land. Easier travel between north and south. But geography is never that simple, because these mountains do one crucial job. They block the sky itself. Every summer, warm air rises over the Indian Ocean. It sweeps north, heavy with moisture. This is the monsoon, Asia's beating heart. When that wet air hits the Himalayas, it stops. It has nowhere to go but up. It climbs, cools, and dumps rain. This is why India gets drenched each summer. Cities flood, rivers swell, fields turn green. The whole subcontinent runs on this rhythm. Without the mountains, the wet air keeps going. It drifts deep into Central Asia and thins out. The concentrated monsoon simply disappears. India, without its monsoon, becomes another place. Crops fail across the plains. Rice paddies dry into cracked earth. The Ganges, the Indus, the Brahmaputra all shrink. These rivers feed on monsoon rain and mountain snow. Remove both sources, and they become seasonal trickles. Nearly 2 billion people rely on those rivers. Their farms, cities, and power grids sit on that water. Without the mountains, that foundation collapses. Now, flip to the other side of the wall. Behind the Himalayas sits the Tibetan Plateau. It is the largest, highest plateau on Earth. Tibet exists because India kept pushing. The land had nowhere to go but up. An area the size of Western Europe rose 3 miles high. Without the collision, Tibet never lifts. It stays low, warm, and green. A temperate landscape instead of frozen highland. That sounds pleasant, almost inviting. But Tibet is also a giant sky heater. Its sunlit surface warms the air above. That warm rising air pulls in the monsoon. It is the engine that drags moisture inland. No Tibet, no engine, no reliable rains. So the mountains and the plateau worked together. One blocks the rain, the other pulls it in. Together, they built the climate of a continent. Now look north of Tibet. There you find some of Earth's driest deserts. The Gobi and the Taklamakan stretch endlessly. These deserts exist partly because the Himalayas exist. The mountains steal moisture before it travels north. Central Asia is left in a giant rain shadow. Erase the range, and that shadow lifts. Moist air can finally push deep inland. The Gobi shrinks, and grasslands spread across it. Western China becomes wetter and greener. Mongolia might look more like Ukraine than desert. Whole civilizations could grow where sand now rules, but India loses what Central Asia gains. The rain that fed the Ganges plain drifts elsewhere. The world's greatest breadbasket slowly withers. Think of it as a great water transfer. The Himalayas decide who gets rain and who does not. Move the wall, and the winners switch places. Now zoom out to the whole planet. The Himalayas affect the global jet stream. Their sheer height bends winds that circle Earth. Without them, those high winds flow smoother and straighter. Weather across Asia, Europe, even America shifts. Winters become milder in some places, harsher in others. Some scientists believe the mountains even cool the planet. Rain on exposed rock pulls carbon from the air. Over millions of years, that quietly lowers global temperatures. Without the Himalayas, Earth might be warmer. Ice ages may have arrived later or never. Human evolution itself could have followed a different path. That is how far the ripples travel. A single range, quietly steering a planet's climate. Remove it, and the whole system rewrites itself. Would you ever want to live in a world without the monsoon? Tell me in the comments what you think Asia would look like. I read every reply, and your ideas often shape future videos. Now come back to the ground. Imagine India without its river cultures. The Indus Valley civilization may never flourish. Rice farming, which shaped South Asian life, may never spread. Wheat could dominate instead in patchy, unreliable harvests. Population would be a fraction of today. Cities like Delhi, Dhaka, and Kolkata rely on river water. Without the Himalayan meltwater, their growth stalls early. Modern megacities may simply never appear. Pakistan is even more exposed to this loss. The country is basically built along the Indus. No Himalayas means no Indus as we know it. Bangladesh, shaped by river deltas, would barely exist. The Brahmaputra and Ganges built that fertile land. Without their silt, the coast looks entirely different. Now shift to China. The Yangtze and the Yellow River begin in Tibet. They feed the farms and factories of the coast. Without Tibet, those rivers are shorter and weaker. Chinese agriculture, especially in the north, becomes harder. The rise of dense Chinese civilization slows dramatically. Southeast Asia feels it too. The Mekong, Salween, and Irrawaddy all start in Tibet. They water Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Myanmar. Rice terraces from Yunnan to the Mekong Delta depend on this. Without those rivers, the region reshapes completely. Different crops, different cities, different histories emerge. So the Himalayas quietly feed nearly half of humanity. They are sometimes called the water towers of Asia. It is not marketing. It is literal geography. Now think about isolation. The mountains are a wall between worlds. India and China developed separately for thousands of years. Without that wall, they would be close neighbors. Armies, traders, and ideas could move freely. The cultures of Asia might have blended earlier. Buddhism still crossed those mountains, but slowly and painfully. Silk Road caravans had to detour far around. Trade routes were carved by the shape of land. Remove the wall, and history rewires itself. A single Asian superpower may have emerged centuries ago, or endless wars may have swallowed the continent. Either way, the map of nations looks unrecognizable. Borders often follow ridges and rivers. Erase the ridges and the borders melt. Even the weather in Europe might change. The jet stream shaping European winters is nudged by Asia. Softer winds could mean gentler seasons or wilder storms. The oceans feel it as well. Rivers carry sediment from the Himalayas to the sea. That sediment builds deltas and feeds marine life. Without that flow, the Bay of Bengal changes chemistry. Fisheries that support millions could shrink. Coastal communities from Chennai to Yangon feel the loss. So the mountains are not just up in the sky, they reach into the ocean, the air, the soil. Every layer of Asia is stitched to them. Now picture the human story without them. No Everest to climb, no Annapurna, no K2. Mountaineering as we know it never exists. No Tibetan Buddhism shaped by quiet plateaus. No Nepali or Bhutanese cultures forged by steep valleys. No Shurva traditions born from thin mountain air. Entire languages, religions, and identities would be missing. The Himalayas did not just shape land. They shaped the minds of millions. Even our science would be poorer. Studying the range taught us how continents collide. Plate tectonics itself became clear here. Without that living laboratory, we understand Earth less. Earthquake, climate, and glacier science all leaned on them. Whole fields would have progressed far slower. Consider the animals too. Snow leopards, red pandas, blue sheep evolved in these heights. Without the peaks, none of them appear. The rhododendron forests of the eastern slopes vanish. Countless species live only in Himalayan valleys. Erase the mountains, and you erase them all. Even world religions bend around this range. Hindu pilgrims travel lifetimes to reach its sacred rivers. Mount Kailash draws 4 faiths to one peak. Without those peaks, that spiritual geography disappears. Prayer flags, monasteries, and pilgrimages fade away. A profound layer of human meaning is lost. Now think about the food on your plate. Basmati rice, Darjeeling tea, Himalayan salt exist here. Countless spices grow on these steep slopes. Without the mountains, those flavors never develop. Global cuisine loses ingredients it now takes for granted. Even your kitchen quietly depends on this geography. Think about energy as well. Hydropower dams line the Himalayan rivers today. They light cities from Kathmandu to Kunming. Without steep drops and constant meltwater, that power vanishes. Whole nations would burn far more coal instead. The climate cost would ripple across generations. Now consider human migration itself. Early humans moved along coasts and river valleys. The Himalayas quietly steered where our ancestors could go. Without them, migration paths opened through the heart of Asia. The genetic map of humanity looks different today. Even our family trees bear the mark of these peaks. Think about disease patterns too. Mosquitoes and monsoons travel together. Malaria zones follow the wet Asian air. Without the Himalayan rains, those zones shift completely. Public health across the continent looks unrecognizable. Even history's plagues may have taken new paths. Now zoom back to the big picture. One collision, one wall, one rising plateau. From that single event, a continent was designed. Rainfall, rivers, deserts, cities, cultures, and ice ages. All of it traces back to that grinding crash. Geography is destiny, written in stone and rain. The Himalayas remind us how thin the line is. A small shift in the crust changed billions of lives. Our world balances on ancient accidents, and they are still growing, still shaping the future. India is still pushing north, millimeter by millimeter. The story is only paused for our short lifetimes. Earthquakes will keep shaking Nepal and northern India. New peaks will rise as old ones erode. The machine keeps running whether we notice or not. Every drop of rain in Delhi has a mountain origin. Every grain of rice in Bangkok owes them a debt. Every breath of monsoon wind was sculpted by stone. So next time you see a photo of Everest, look closer. You are not just seeing a mountain, you are seeing the reason Asia exists. If this changed how you see the map, drop a comment below. Tell me which country you think would be most different. Your answers make these videos smarter. And if you want more stories on how the world works, subscribe and tap the bell. There is a lot more geography waiting to surprise you, because in the end, the world is not random. It is shaped by rock, wind, and water, and sometimes by one mountain range that changed everything.